My warmest greetings to all our organizers, resource speakers, and guests and participants from the private sector, government, civil society, and the academe who are joining us today. Let me begin by congratulating the Department of Trade and Industry and its export promotion arm, CITEM, for this very first Sustainability Solutions Exchange Conference. Special thanks to DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez, Executive Director Pauline Suaco-Wan, for all your efforts to empower our MSMEs as key players in our journey towards sustainability. It has been over 2 years since the pandemic put the world in a lockdown, that ground economies to a halt, and forcefully realigned our national priorities. And yet, as many others have noted, the drastic shocks of the pandemic could be precisely what our institutions need to commit to the shift towards sustainability. I believe that we have major policies and frameworks in place for us to fully embrace sustainability, which is defined by the UN, and I quote, as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs, unquote, as a defining factor and indispensable safeguard in growing our economy. First, we have our Constitution, which provides the right of the people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature. We have updated the Philippine Development Plan to recognize the widespread impacts of climate change, to encourage a transition to our critical sectors by promoting and supporting green technology innovations, climate-smart infrastructure and designs, low-carbon and energy-efficient urban transport systems. We also have a whole host of environmental and climate laws, many of which have had the honor of shepherding in the Senate. Clean Air Act, Ecological Solid Waste Management Law, Clean Water Act, National Integrated Environmental Education Act, Renewable Energy Law, Climate Change Act, People Survival Fund, Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction Management, the NEPAS Law, Green Jobs Act, and the expanded National Integrated Protected Areas, as I said, the NEPAS. And in recent years, we've seen a growing movement towards sustainability, especially in the private sector during the pandemic, in areas of sustainable consumption and production, and the circular economy and renewable energy. We now have the Bangko Sentral issued Sustainable Finance Framework, which is expected to mobilize financing for investments that support the attainment of a net zero carbon economy. We also have the Securities and Exchange Commission's Sustainability Reporting Guidelines, which is helping our publicly listed companies to foster environmental and social principles and green their portfolio, their operations, and supply chains. In the area of energy, we've had the Renewable Energy Act way back in 2008. We co-authored this, and this is the linchpin of the enabling framework for RE in the country. Our aim then was to accelerate the development of renewables for a cleaner, more reliable, and cheaper means of meeting our needs for energy. Our Department of Energy issued a moratorium on new coal-fired power plants, pronounced to support 100% foreign ownership in large-scale geothermal power plants, to spur growth amid the hesitation of local players, and launched the Green Energy Option Program to provide consumers the option to source their electricity from renewable energy sources. With the cost of renewables now competitive, big financial institutions and companies are divesting from coal and have already issued coal exit plans. We've been working in Congress on the passage as well of a nationwide ban on single-use plastics. We were able to pass this on third reading, and we need the transitional mechanism of the Extended Producer Responsibility, or the EPR scheme. As for marine litter, the DNR has also launched its National Plan of Action for the Prevention, Reduction, and Management of Marine Litter, or NPAOML for short, which aims for zero waste in Philippine waters by year 2040. On sustainable transport, we're also seeing more and more local governments installing bike lanes, solar lamps, and related facilities that promote the safety of riders. And this emerged as a response to disruptions in public transport during the pandemic It is also encouraging to see that even the gradual return of public utility vehicles in our streets, there's also a movement for sustainability for urban mobility. There is also our NDC, nationally determined contributions, a target required of all countries to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions from critical sectors. Our Philippine NDC commits to a 75% reduction and avoidance of GHG emissions. This represents our goal for GHG mitigation from 2020 to 2030 for the sectors of agriculture, waste, industry, transport, and energy. But to achieve our targets in these sectors, we will need sustainable technologies, financing, approaches. But as I always say, all these laws, policies remain just a part of the equation. We need action, not just on the part of government, but action across industries, across sectors, across local communities. And in this regard, I'm happy to report that we are seeing some progress. In 2020, we also launched a weekly webinar called Stories for a Better Normal. It showcases the best of sustainability initiatives in the grassroots level. For instance, some of our weekly features, which I know will be of particular interest to many of our participants today, showed how young Andy Eigenman, Jerly Rabaca, Vice Mayor J.R. Coro of Siargao, and Cara Rosas are changing the face of tourist towns in Siargao, before Odette, of course. How my own home province of Antique as well is gearing for the expected post-pandemic tourism boom by ensuring the readiness and sustainability. Or even how Chef Jamel Chor, Datu Sharif Pendaton, or Chef Waya Wijanko are also leading changes in the agriculture sector from their own home kitchens. I channel Paul Hawken, whose book Drawdown gave us some of the most strategic interventions to combat climate change. In his new book released last year, he proposes that the climate crisis can be ended in one generation if we focus on soil, rebuilding it, using its carbon holding capacity to blanket the planet with sustainability in dirt. Building the soil with our own organic waste is something anyone can do. There are many other initiatives, from promoting and planting native trees, which I do, and plants and seed saving, to regenerative agriculture, everything I do in this farm, leading food supply chain transformations, expanding opportunities for green jobs. And if you're not yet part of this movement, you're living in dark ages. We have sustainability practitioners, interesting innovations across the country. And my hope is that we can muster more support from them. Their ideas, especially in terms of financing, partnerships, to bring them to many different parts of the country and beyond. The food and lifestyle MSMEs with us today can also make an impact by working with them, studying their innovations, making them your own. This is why the SSX initiative and this inaugural conference, which I hope leads to many more, are very important. It's a platform to bring solutions and advocates and champion those who are doing their part of this climate journey towards sustainability. And in doing so, it can drive the very kind of solutions that we need today. Innovations that will address present and future problems, especially in this critical decade of climate action and ecosystem restoration. The pandemic could be what we need to shock us all into action. And indeed, it has been a clarion call to rethink our notions of what development really is and a way of doing business. We need a better paradigm for development, one where economic, social, and environmental goals need not be in conflict, one that highlights the simple truth that what is good for the planet is also good for business, for our communities, for our families. And I hope that we could count on all of you to make this shift possible and hopefully permanent. Isang lunti ang Pilipinas sa ating lahat.